What's up? What's up? We have reached the end of Senior Bowl week. This week always seems to fly right by, right prior to Super Bowl week, as usual. We went through a pretty star-studded physical ups and downs week for all of these prospects for the most part. A little later on, we'll get into some of the winners and losers from this Senior Bowl week of practice, as well as the
Mhm.
game. Even though the game can only give you what you can expect from it. I mean, they're not allowed to run any exotic coverages, pretty much a lot of man to man. They want to see one on one when it comes to these players, these prospects against other big time competition. Because at the end of the day, as you and I discussed in the pre show, some players aren't one on one players. That's just how it is. Some guys aren't 7-on-7 players. They're players that are better within the scheme in the realm of a defense. And I think there were some guys out there at the Senior Bowl practice this week. Penn State cornerback Kalen King. Matter of fact, both Penn State quarterbacks did not look too good at all this week. A couple other people we will touch on, but oh boy, from the
Yeah.
Detroit Lions perspective, you and I discussed this yesterday in the pre-show as well.
Mhm.
There's a lot of talent out here, and that's the only thing about the Senior Bowl. Nobody's a secret anymore. There were some players who you and I has talked about the Lions potentially having on their radar late second, early third, fourth, fifth round. There's some guys that made themselves a lot of money, and not necessarily for us per se, as the video froze up. Not necessarily for us per se, but that's a big thing I think come Senior Bowl time is guys
Mhm.
cleaning up some of the discrepancies NFL scouts and GMs may have about their particular game,
Yeah.
and moving up the draft boards and making some money. So
Yeah.
let's start out with the quarterback position, and we're gonna start out with a guy who you yourself. Now, I'm kind of biased, being
Mhm.
honest, against Bo Nix for a couple reasons. For one,
Mhm.
I think I just got PTSD when it comes to Bo Nix because I've seen so much bad Bo Nix out of the University of Auburn, so much inconsistent Bo Nix. Bo Nix has Mondo talent, big arm, very
Yep.
athletic. The physical stature looks there. You look at it right there. He measured in a 6'1", 218. I figured he was somewhere around 218. These are not combine. These are uh, Senior Bowl measurements for that matter. One thing's for sure though, all of these dudes, and this shows you right here, do not trust collegiate numbers. Because if they say a guy is 6'3", you can bet he's 6 foot and a half, he's 6'1" or whatever. Nick's turned out to be 6'1". Another guy, wide receiver. We're not gonna really touch on him too much today, but Xavier Leggett from South Carolina. He's the
South
guy that we were
Carolina.
told he's 6'4", 230. Xavier turned out to be just barely 6'1". Now he's close to that 230, but Leggett turned out to be barely 6'1". So I don't want to trash Bo Nix. Bo Nix is a solid player. Sometimes quarterbacks, especially quarterbacks, they don't really hit the ground running. Sometimes it takes some of them 2 or 3 years to really get themselves together. Bo Nix is a guy that got out of Auburn. A lot of quarterbacks got out of Auburn for that matter, but Bo Nix is a guy that got out of Auburn, went
Yeah.
to Oregon, a tailor-made offense for him, all the bubble screens, all the short throws. He had a ton of talent on the outside at wide receiver. He had probably the best interior offensive lineman in this draft,
Yeah.
taking the
Facts.
ball from him, and he flourished. But I think there's still a lot of questions on Bo Nix. But what did you see from Bo Nix this week at Senior Bowl that kind of changed your mind on him?
Yeah. I'm this my guy to begin with. You know what I'm saying? That's number one. So I always I back my guys, man, because they could have a bad game. Like the game itself, what I'm saying, this game as a whole doesn't really do guys justice. I think, especially this year was a hard watch to me, you know what I'm saying? Having to go out and play this game, so you would look at Bo Nix and he threw in touchdown pass, from short yardage out. It wasn't like, he lit it up. But for me, I mean, the proof was in the pudding for me, like during the season. Well, I mean, to play in the the Pac-12, you know, um, a conference where you got to score points, to keep up with everybody and to be, let's be honest, a top dog. Obviously, Oregon coming to the Big Ten next year. Football season starts again. But for this year, I think that any quarterback that could just go into a situation like he did and picked up the pace, even kind of made the team stronger. Offensively, I give him credit for that. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, he just you want to. For me, like you said, does he move the needle? I mean, is he like Justin Herbert coming out of Oregon? No, but I think that he is a guy. I think it's more scheme and the more opportunities he had. The receivers, let's be honest, the receivers are pretty damn good receivers he had. Off when we'll get into all those prospects later on, in the draft process. But just this week, I mean, yeah, I think that he's proven. I mean, he stood out. Him and Spencer Rattler as guys who are throwers of the football, and I think that any guy who can throw the rock, man, NFL GM scouts, their eyes open up. You know what I'm saying? Where he can make all the throws. You hear that cliche all the time. You know what I mean? He's a guy that doesn't get rattled in certain situations. He was down in a couple of games and kind of comeback wins, played Washington, went toe-to-toe with Washington or whatever this year. So he has, a Heisman finalist, for me with him, like you said, getting transferred, I think is not a big deal anymore because we're in, portal, NIL, season of NCAA football, that type of thing. Anybody that can go to another team and make a name for himself, I respect that. You know what I'm saying? Like Michael Penix, like Spencer Rattlers, like guy like Jalen Hurt, guys who've done it already. So for me, I think Jalen Hurt, I got him on my mind right now. Bo Nix is a guy. Is he a first round talent? I don't think so. I don't know if somebody likes him enough past Drake May, Caleb Williams. You know what I mean? He's sort of like in the next guy, the third or fourth best guy. And I think that for me, somebody gonna get themselves a quarterback, man. I think that, is he a franchise quarterback? That remains to be seen. I think he is. I think that the next step for him is to have a strong combine because now it's all individual. You know what I'm saying? And now the spotlight's going to be on your physical trait. You know what I'm saying? Walt, your physical traits. But he's shown, man, Walt, I mean, to be able to throw the deep pass, to be able to, command the offense, a team that, trusts him, a coaching staff that trusts him, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, he moved left from Auburn. It was a situation where he had to kind of get out of there. And if he wanted to be the draft, phenom he is now, I think there was a right move to get out of there. You know what I'm saying? And he landed with Dan Lanning, good coaching staff. You know what I'm saying? They put him in this position. So I think, to answer your question in a nutshell, I think that Bo Nix helped himself, you know what I'm saying, to an extent, to the, as much as he could. It wasn't really much he could do past what he did, to be honest with you, in this week. So the next step for him is the combine.
Well, there you have it. I'm gonna just say this: the physical tools are definitely there with Bo Nix. I think a huge part of the negativity around him is once people see so much bad from you or so much average, especially when you come out of college, not college, but you come out of high school with the type of decorations that he had and the player he was supposed to be at Auburn. I think Auburn gave him every opportunity to turn things around. And for whatever reason, here nor there, things just did not work out at Auburn. But same thing with Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels, when you go from being the type of recruits that these dudes were and underperforming the way they were, was it entirely their fault? No, it wasn't. But we saw other people be successful in those situations. And you go from those situations, and it's sort of like the Brock Purdy effect. You can look one way playing at Iowa State with less offensive talent around you. Then you go to the San Francisco 49ers, and those intangibles, the type of intangibles a guy like Brock Purdy has really isn't going to show up on a team that's talent deficient.
Mm-hmm.
But his intangibles shine bright with a team like San Francisco that's loaded. And if you look at, just looking at Bo Nix collegiate career. And if you go back to, let me show this. Let me bring this up. Okay, so his first 3 years at Alabama, not Alabama, his first 3 years at Auburn, he played 13, 11, 10 games, respectfully, in those seasons. Never eclipsed 3,000 yards. He had 16 touchdown passes, 12 touchdown passes, 11. Immediately when he got to Oregon, now you're talking about he played 13 games, started 13 games. Completion percentage went up to 80% from 61, 59, and 57 in those
Mhm.
in those first 3 years at Auburn. And
Yeah.
you're talking about 29 touchdown passes. He went from 16 to 12 to 11. Then when he transferred to Oregon, 29 touchdown passes in 22 and 45 touchdown passes this past season in 2023.
Yeah, he's
Those
amazing.
are huge, huge jumps for a guy that's. And then when you're an older quarterback, you're deemed as a late bloomer.
Mhm.
That's just how it is. And if you look at his stats this season, dude was automatic. 92.7 passing grade, intermediate grade was 94.7, deep grade 95.5. His grade under with no pressure on him, 91.9, which is 92%. His grade under pressure was 91.2 this season at Oregon. All of those numbers point to a guy who should be a first round pick lock. And coming out of high school, there were people who had him pegged as the potential number one overall pick in a couple years, and it never worked out. I'm kind of skeptical of quarterbacks when they go from performing so pedestrian. This wasn't 1 year at Auburn. This wasn't two. This was three. When they go from performing so pedestrian in those opportunities that they previously had, and then you just go skyrocket to a next level there.
Yeah.
That was one of my concerns with Jaden Daniels. But if we're talking about just strictly the physical talent, of course it's there. Everybody
Yeah.
know the talent for Bo Nix is there. One big issue, well, minor issue a lot of people have with him, which has seemed to become a big issue and concern for a lot of quarterback people over the past decade or so, is him being smart and taking the short throws and the checkdowns.
Yeah.
That's one big reason why he was able to amass 45 touchdowns. He didn't take a whole lot of chances, but he did a very good job at Oregon this year, I believe, of taking what the defense gave him, putting the football in the hands of his playmakers, primarily Troy Franklin, wide receiver who may be a first round pick this year.
Yeah.
And Bo maximized what he was supposed to do. Now, me on the other hand, I still can't roll with him like that, brother. I
Yeah.
can't. He may completely prove me wrong, but as of right now, like I said, I can't really I can't get behind it too much. But I will say this: I'm gonna bring up another dude, another transfer quarterback who
Mhm.
came from another school, another big time recruit for that matter, and that guy is Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
Um, Now all of us know exactly who Spencer Rattler is. Big time recruit, 4 or 5, was it 4 years ago? I believe he came out of high school. He had all the YouTube videos doing all the fancy stuff, similar to what JJ McCarthy was doing when he came out. And for one reason or another, a lot of it was immaturity issues. Things did not work out at Oklahoma under Lincoln Riley. Um, can't kill him too much on that. I mean, the dude lost his job to Caleb Williams, so can't kill him too much on that. But a lot of people around Rattler have said at the Senior Bowl and previously over the last couple of years in South Carolina, mentally he's a different guy.
Yeah.
And from a physical talent standpoint, you and I both said in the pre-show, he looked like the best quarterback out there. He wasn't the biggest, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, he only measured in at 6'1". Still, he's 217. But I don't think the 6'1" bothers NFL teams as much as it used to. You know, he's still a thickly stout built quarterback with a lot of room to put some extra muscle on that frame. And the arm talent is tremendous.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on Spencer Rattler?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a Spencer Rattler guy. I'm not. But I can't say this. I can't say, just like, with Bo Nix, and Michael Penix for that matter. I think that any player, man, that that will faced adversity and moved on from where they previously were, and then have success. It's something to be said for that. You know what I'm saying? So Spencer Rattler falls in the same category, just like Penix and Bo Nix is just going to a different spot and then making a name for himself. But it's good to see because I mean, according to everything I seen in South Carolina, I mean, they was booing him. This is a college player, college quarterback with in hopes to be an NFL quarterback one day. He was getting booed. They wanted him out of there quick, fast, in a hurry. You know what I'm saying? Good, good for him that he actually did get out of there, get into a situation where he was successful. You know what I'm saying? From Oklahoma and came to South Carolina. Now, are they a juggernaut, national champion, contender? No, but I mean, the fact of the matter is, he did put himself back in position to be, drafted in the NFL. He's not a first round talent, but he's definitely like, I would be shocked if he didn't get drafted at all. You know what I'm saying? And he showed with me, Walt, he can make all throws, rifle arm. You know what I'm saying? I think I wrote down, took some notes on him. He reminds me of a poor man's Baker Mayfield a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Rifle arm, can throw, especially around the red zone. Can squeeze it in a tight window. To the sideline, uses, back shoulder, sideline, in the corner type pay. He's good for that. He could do
He got
that.
the type of arm strength that he can find completions. That's something I
Yeah.
say a lot about, like guys like Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. Well, Mahomes is a different category, but guys with the arm strength and the arm talent to be able to take completions. They find completions where there shouldn't be completions. And
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
one of them.
Yeah, I love it. Like I said, I love the tenacity to be able to go somewhere else. Like I said, for me, that's huge. You know what I'm saying? It shows me your mental makeup, you know what I'm saying? Because it's easily, what if he went there, and it just didn't work out there? I mean, then he'd really be up the creek without a paddle, that type of thing. But
Then he had Western Kentucky State Tech,
yeah, and then not even getting to a junior college or something. But yeah, Spencer
Phoenix,
Dinwiddie.
University of Phoenix, somewhere.
Yeah, I think right now, the year he had, I think, putting himself in position, Walt, I think he is a prospect now. You know what I'm saying? He was out of it. Think about where he was a couple years ago. But like I say, and then he will put his head down and scramble for some yards. He's kind of scrappy dude, a typical NFL, scrappy, borderline starter, backup quarterback. That's what he is. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be interesting to see who drafts him. You know what I'm saying? What situation he gets into. Maybe I could be way off base. Maybe he doesn't even get drafted at all. Who knows? You know what I mean? I think that, again, just like with Bo Nix, combine is gonna be huge for him too. You know what I mean? Depending on if the physical attributes are there, we may be talking about a day 3 pick, you know what I'm saying? Or so, I mean, a day 2 pick, day 2 pickup somewhere. So, 4th or 5th round pick or something like that,
My thoughts on Spencer, it all depends on how he interviews. The interview process is more crucial for him than it is probably any other quarterback in this class. Maybe any position of player in this class, because he's got to dispel a lot of the myths about him. And once rumors get out about you for years, it becomes the truth. Even if it's not true, it becomes the truth. Um, I would hate to believe that he hasn't matured a lot, considering who he was at 16 in high school and 17. But like I said, I mean, the physical talent is there, arm strength wise. He's got a first round arm. That's obvious. Now, the size, that's neither here nor there. Can I see a team in the second round that needs a quarterback? Because at the end of the day, when you take a quarterback in the second round, you're expecting him to be the starter at some point in time. That's too high to take a guy and not expect him to be the starter. No. Just because, the talent is there, but there's too many questions on him right now, and I can't see a team taking a risk on him that early.
Yeah.
But I don't see him getting past. He's in that second group of quarterbacks. We want to be honest about it. He's just as talented from an arm talent-wise standpoint as Bo Nix. Who else you want to put in there? Michael Penix has a big arm, but Michael Penix had his issues too.
Yeah.
Nobody thought Penix was as small as he was. Penix moved in, measured in, I think, at like 6'1", 212 pounds, and then not playing in the game, reportedly due to not wanting to risk injury or whatnot. And this is a dude who had 2 ACL surgeries already at the University of Indiana. He's already got a ton of tread taken off his tires, period, from playing college football. And if you want to try to figure out where Spencer Rattler fits into that, after Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Caleb Williams, he's right in that next category with dudes, depending on how he interviews. Be honest, because then people like the younger. Well, he's not young anymore because he didn't play a damn near full career of college football, but he's still really green. And we already know how NFL organizations love to get the guy with all the talent and be the one that bring it all out of him. So uh for the Lions, no. I'm gonna say
No.
that right there. I don't think the Lions take a quarterback, period. And we didn't bring either one of these guys up for the sake of bringing up, God or possibilities for the Lions, but we did want to touch on the quarterback position because hey, the quarterback position is the most important position on the field. And Rattler and Bo Nix were two guys from this week that you and I both wanted to talk about. Guys like Michael Pratt from Tulane showed nothing. You talked about Sam Hartman almost being eligible for a pension in college.
Yeah. Yeah. I,
and he measured in smaller too. So you look at a guy like Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman played well at Notre Dame this year, but Sam is small, and he's got a small arm. And if you look at the way he played, he threw the ball in the football game. It's just some of these guys, they're competitors, but being a competitor only gets you so far. You got to have some physical ability behind it as well. And some of these guys, for the most part, it just didn't work out for them. So skip them. Let's get to a position group where it directly affects our Detroit Lions, man. And I want to start out with the dude right here, Brendan Rice. Yeah, Brendan Rice. He's flawed. I'm gonna keep it 100% on Brendan Rice, son of the Hall of Famer, greatest receiver of all time, Jerry Rice. This boy is nothing like his dad. We're gonna get that. We're gonna get that clear. This boy is, you're looking at 6'3". He a legit 6'3", almost 6'4", 6'3", 205. Actually, I think he's 212 now. Yeah, I didn't need to change that. At the combine, he measured in at 212. He weighed in at 212. Very physical, very aggressive, violent route runner, which is kind of a negative as well. I love the way he carried himself, and it's not a joke with him. It's not a gimmick. You look at the way he reacts on the sideline and all the 101s, how competitive he is, the smack he talks. You look at how he carried himself. He came from the University of Colorado, transferred to USC. He was Caleb Williams' #1 target this year. And I think the drops is the biggest issue with him. I think the drops can be moved past because for me, from what I see for him on film, he dropped passes in the 101s throughout the week, which is bad. But the drops also appear on film. I think his issue is he's too violent and too out of control. If you look at how he runs his routes, how he explodes off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
There's no suddenness, there's no finesse. And I think his issue is he expends so much energy getting off the line, being physical. He also goes out of his way to be physical. And I think he expends so much energy doing all that by the time his head gets around and the ball gets there, the ball gets up on him too quick and it handcuffs him. And I think that's where a lot of his drops come from. But yeah, if you look at who his daddy was as a wide receiver, his daddy was smooth like Sunday morning. He was physical too. Jerry wasn't no joke out there, but this boy is more so. And I don't want to make this comparison because Lion fans, when I make this comparison, it's going to bring back some PTSD for them. He reminds me, character-wise, he's different. At least I believe he's different. He reminds me a lot of Kenny Galladay. Same body type.
Yeah.
Same upward running style, physicality. They'll drop a ball every now and then. But if you need a guy who can run that deep dig, he can run a slant. He can play. He can actually do the one-on-one jump ball thing downfield. He can run all 9 routes. And if he runs what they expect him to run, which I don't think he's this fast, but I've heard he's expected reportedly to be running somewhere in the low 4.3 range. I don't see 4.3 on film. I think he's probably somewhere around 4.47, 4.48, which is still more than fast enough for a big X receiver who's 6'3", 212. But for me, And there's another guy we're gonna get into also, I think is a lion as well. To me, he looks like a lion. He plays
Mhm.
like a lion. He's the type of guy that I want in my wide receiver room.
Yeah. Yep. Because he brings something different to the table. You know what I'm saying? He's even different from Jameson Williams. Like you said, in his own regard, I do like Brendan Rice. I think that, 6'3", 205, I think that's some attributes right there that we don't have. The lankiness. Like I said, Kenny Galladay was a perfect compliment to comparison, because I think you're right. You hit it right on the head with that. And I think that he can, make some plays, when given the opportunity to do so. I think that, he was Caleb Williams' big play target. I think he had I think it was 6 plays over 60 yards during the season. It was ridiculous, the big playability that he had. He came back, transferred from Colorado, where it was a mess before Dion got there. You know what I'm saying? And he was there and wound up going to USC and wound up, being around the guy, Heisman Trophy winner, you know what I'm saying, and wound up playing, at a high level. You know what I'm saying? The Pac-12 is what it was. I think people don't think the Pac-12 has tough players. You know what I'm saying? It has, guys that can be, have that killer instinct in the NFL. I like Brendan Rice. You know what I'm saying? Not because he's just Jerry Rice's son. I just think that he does have some ability. Is he on first on my list? No. I mean, it's a couple guys that we're gonna get into that I would probably take over him. But hey, like you said, a perfect draft scenario. He's not a first or second round pick, maybe, but maybe third round. You give him a look, in my opinion, and go from there. You know what I'm saying? But I do think he has some ability sideline to side, sort of like Antoine Green was to me, where I seen a lot of work on the sidelines. You know what I'm saying? On the outside of the hash marks. You know what I mean? I do think maybe that maybe his downfall, like maybe why he's not being mentioned as a top receiver, maybe because, like you said, some of those traits that you want to see from your receiver, maybe he has to grow into that, and that's okay too. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that, like you said, this guy, I could see him wearing a Lions uniform. I really could. You know what I'm saying? And really uh being a compliment to what we have now. I mean, because if you're just talking the Lions, you don't have to be a flashy or a guy that's, because we Jameson Williams, we got that. You know what I'm saying? A guy who's got God given speed.
Right.
I like to see him run. I like to see Brendan Rice run, though. I mean, I hope he runs in the combine, because I really would. I don't know how fast he is yet. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's going to be another thing. I think if he runs in the mid, 4.4s or close to 4.5, or dare I say 4.6, I mean, then you can forget about being a second round pick. You know what I mean? He may be a little lower than that. So, yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I like Brendan Rice. I did. Once I seen the tape on him, I was like, you know what? It's something there. You know what I'm saying? And then
He set something off with you because you see he's an alpha. He's an alpha. And I
Mhm,
think that's the
mhm,
one thing they said at the Senior Bowl practice about him. Like he's an alpha, and he's not a fake alpha. He's not a guy. He's not a rah guy that's trying to take over the locker room or whatever. He's a
mhm,
guy that's competitive and wants to fight on every down. Now, I would rather have a receiver or a player with his temperament and his
mhm.
attitude towards the game and have to scale it back a little bit
Yeah,
over having a guy that I got to constantly try to pull the dog out of you. Like
yeah.
he plays with a big time chip on the shoulder. I don't know if the chip on the shoulder comes from him being Jerry Rice's son, and I'm pretty sure he heard a lot of bullshit his whole life
Mhm.
about, how it is being when you're the child of
Yeah,
an all time great.
yeah.
People gonna talk shit about you. They're gonna sleep on you. They're gonna say you're not as good as you are. He plays with a chip on his shoulder, like he heard that his whole life, and he wants
Mhm,
to. Jerry said himself in an interview a couple days ago around the Senior Bowl that, like, my son been competing with me since he was 12. Like, and then once he got taller than me, I had to constantly hear about, Dad, I'm taller than you. Dad,
yeah,
I'm more muscular than you. Dad, I'm faster than you.
yeah,
And he said that one thing teams won't have to be concerned with when it comes to his son is competitiveness. He's going to compete. His daddy
yeah.
was competitive,
Of
So, like
course.
I said, I mean, I look at it, man. Like, is he a first round pick? No. I think he's probably a mid second round pick. depending on how the wide receivers start flying off the board. But if he catches the ball well at the combine, runs a fast time for his size, I can see somebody taking him a little earlier, depending on how the rest of the wide receiver group starts to fall. But he's definitely a guy who, if he's there in the third round, because at the end of the day, we have no idea how the Lions are going to approach this. We don't know if they're going to trade out of number 29. We don't know at the end of the day, come that one night at the end of April, we don't know if this team is going to have 3 first-round picks, no first-round picks, 2 seconds, or
2
whatever.
seconds, yeah. We got 2/3 right now, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But if we're talking about potentially losing Josh Reynolds, Josh is getting older. Josh isn't the most athletic, the most explosive. He, to me, is the perfect replacement. He's younger, he's bigger, he's stronger. He, like I said, he can do all the things that we've been complaining about not having an X all season. He's the dude on the outside, and I want to go to some of his stats from this season that proves this. Now, go right ahead.
No. I was just saying, well, I thought you had to look him up. I was just going to say, because I did see somebody in the comment, Rob, put Robert Spidel's comment up. Well, and I think this is right on the money. I don't want people to go overboard and think that we're saying, like, draft another guy, like, right now, like, you know what I'm saying, one of the first 2 picks.
Oh, no, but I mean,
I wouldn't take no, what I was going to say is I wouldn't take him like over like the top cornerback or the second best lineman, or you know what I'm saying? It would have to be like down the list. Now, for everybody that says like don't draft a receiver, blah blah blah, like you just said, well, it's Lions got to draft a receiver.
This team has multiple needs. We ain't about to go out there and just draft 12 defensive players now. Like we got
exactly.
a ton
they
of
need
needs.
a receiver, right? I was just trying to make that point. But I mean, I see where Rob coming from. You know what I'm saying? But saying that Goff can't get the ball, you know, that's a whole nother issue. But I do think you have a guy, and he can play the intermediate game too. That's what I like about him. I see, you know, but Goff just gonna have to get the ball on the outside of those numbers, which he does struggle with. I mean, that's where the pick six happens with him and stuff like that. But I think Brandon Rice fit. He's a dog, man. He'll fit right in with these guys. That's what I believe too. So go ahead with the stats. Walt. I'm sorry.
Also, I think he's really dynamite with the ball in his hands after the catch. Now he only had 70 targets on the year. He had 45 catches for 791, which ain't much, but he averaged 17.6 yards per catch playing with Caleb Williams, and he had 12 touchdowns. Now, if you go to his receiving grades, aren't really that high. Yards per route, he's around 2.7.5. Contested catch rate, 25%, which is the bottom percentile. But for guys with his type of size and skill set, his overall receiving grade was damn near 80, which puts him in the top 2 percentile pretty much. Which means he's, like I said, he's a physical guy that has ball skills. He attacks the football. And he can pretty much make plays anywhere on the field. He's not really a speed guy like that, but he's that X guy that can catch the ball pretty much anywhere where you want to put it at. And his grade against man coverage was 77.6, which puts him in the top 2% as well. So he's a guy who can beat man-to-man coverage. And when you get the ball in his hands, when you get the ball to him, he can make plays.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking at on the season, he had 9 missed tackles for us, which is tied for 160th in the country. He had 8 deep catches, was tied for 87th. This may not sound too great to people, but you're talking about out of a lot of different wide receivers in the country that he's being compared to. So I'm just saying myself, and I want to state this again for Lions fans who may be listening to us right now and saying, why are these guys talking about wide receivers? We're talking about pretty much in general all the position groups where we need upgrades. We're not saying Brendan Rice or Roman Wilson, who we're going to get to next. Any of these guys should be first-round picks. That'll be ridiculous. But if you're talking about players who we could potentially get late second round, early third, maybe even fourth round for that matter, these are some of the guys who will be on the board for that matter. Now, let's move on to your boy, man. He my boy too. I fell in love with him pretty tough this over this week of practice, man. But listen,
I like Roman.
Roman, man,
baller.
Roman, man, he's killed everybody. Let's keep it straight. There were some corners out there this week of practice who were some damn good corners, and he put those dudes in a blender. He was uncoverable. everybody who was at the Senior Bowl routinely stated how uncoverable Roman Wilson was. Now, if you look at the size 5'10", 186, you made the Amon-Ra St. Brown comparison. St. Brown's a little more yoked up. St.
Mhm.
Brown is what, around 200, I think, 6', 200,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah. 2
5'11" and a quarter. I don't know.
Yeah, 205. Yeah.
I ain't gonna play my boy like that. But if you're
Mhm.
talking about play style, I think
Yeah.
he's probably a more refined at this stage in his career of a route runner than Amon-Ra St. Brown was.
Mhm.
But this your boy. I'm gonna pass it over to you because I seen the man. We in Michigan, so I know
Yeah.
a lot about Roman Wilson. You know a whole lot. A lot of
Yeah.
Lions fans been clamoring for Roman Wilson throughout the season, mainly because he's a hometown kid that we know about
Yeah.
playing for our school. But this the dude that you really fell in love with over the weekend.
Yeah, yeah, because I just think that, not only because he played here, I mean, that it makes a big difference, like you said, because you see him every week and you see the growth. But I think the transformation that he made into a guy that could be dependable from to move the chains and to be, I think the only thing that held him back, that listen, he played in a run heavy offensive style. You know what I'm saying? We had two guys that mainly
Yep.
commanded the ball a lot. Blake Corum was, and rightfully so, one of the top running backs, or if the top running back in college football. So Roman Wilson is really good. He's going to be one of those guys where you look at back maybe 5 or 6 years from now and you say, man, he really didn't do that much in college, but now he could be a top 10 receiver in the NFL. I mean, the NFL game is set up for how he plays. Just like I made the comparison to Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I was just saying, St. Brown, he may be maybe faster. I think he is faster than St. Brown. I think that's another reason where this guy, and trust me, everybody see how they dropped the ball with St. Brown and with those same kind of traits, Walt, with less speed and didn't draft him high. And I think this is going to be the opposite. I think I can see Roman Wilson, man, it depends on the combine. I'm going to say it now. He could be a late first round pick or early second round pick in my book, man. I think he's that good. I think he commands the ball. When he's got the ball, he snatches it out of the air. He wins every time he's out there against the other guy. I mean, being 5'10", I think people lose sight of, oh, this just another short, small receiver. And yeah, he may be small in stature, but dude play big, man. He can go up and get any ball. He's had some games where he hasn't had a 9-catch 205-yard output. I don't think that was wasn't the offense he was in. You know what I'm saying? I think he's capable of doing that. And it's going to be difficult maybe to adjust to the next level, not having a quarterback that can get you to rock in college the way he's going to be able to get the ball delivered to him in the NFL. It depends on what team too. But I really do. I like the traits wall. I love route running. I like the situation where you can put them in motion. You can line them up in the slot. I'm telling you, it's a St. Brown clone. And I think this is a copycat NFL, especially when you got success. People are going to copycat what the Lions are doing, especially offensively. You know what I'm saying? And I think that he's going to be a guy that's going to be in high regard, man. He's going to be in the top 50 people, 50 players taken. He'll be one of the top 50. I guarantee you. You know what I'm saying? Just off of, being, getting some cachet from, Harbaugh, from national championship. I think that goes so far. Every year, whoever wins the title, those players usually get plucked too. You know what I'm saying? Unless you just a straight up project. But I don't think so. I think Roman Wilson's refined his whole game, man. You know what I'm saying? From year, I think he's a better route runner this year than he was last year. You know what I'm saying? I think that you could see the progress that that he does, knows what he knows. I mean, I don't want to say it. These guys should know what they're doing, but I think he really does. As a route runner, as an NFL receiver, I could see him, Walt, really taking everybody by man, I didn't think he was that good, but he really is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like I said, very shifty, very sudden. Probably the best route runner that we saw at the Senior Bowl all week. And as far as the game is concerned, we all saw the one-handed catch he made. Only thing about him that kind of worries me, I don't really care too much about the size. I ain't dealing with the size. Don't really bother me. He's exclusively a slot receiver. And if you look at some of the numbers he had 476 yards from the slot, which is crazy, which put him still at 96th in the country. But if you're looking at missed tackles forced, he only had 2 missed tackles forced all season. And you're talking about where else? I was just looking at right here. Um, do, 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 do. Outside of the missed tackles forced, you're also talking about yards after catch. He only averaged 4.6 yards after the catch, which had him tied for 310th in the country. So he's a guy where St. Brown is a menace with the ball in his hands after he catches it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Roman more so, if he can't really get away from guys in college, it's going to be even tougher in the NFL. So I think he's exclusively a slot guy, a chain mover. Um, I'm not sure if I would have him ahead of Ladd McConkey from Georgia. I think those are two guys who are kind of like very comparable because both of those guys have pretty much been labeled as slots and that's it. But I think McConkey is a little more physical after the catch, with as far as when it comes to running with the ball in his hands at the catch point as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
one thing though, but with both of these dudes is, and this ain't something you can say about the next guy we're gonna talk about, get up in their face.
Yeah.
Once guys started putting hands on Roman, things changed. Once guys at the Senior Bowl started putting hands on Ladd McConkey, things changed. But that's with any slot receiver. But the thing is, you got to be able to risk it. Because if you risk it and you don't get hands on this dude and you can't stop him,
It's curtains.
and you exactly, and you can't redirect his routes, he gonna destroy you.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I think you're looking at Roman. Roman is a possibility for the Lions, even though I think we need someone a little bit different from him.
Yeah, we need a
But
little bit different back. I mean, different receiver, in my opinion. I think Brendan Rice would be good. Go ahead to the next guy because this the guy I like. You brought him to my attention. I think if it's the guy, I think it is.
no, it's only one more. There's only one
Yeah,
more left. We
is
about
it
to, yeah,
Corley? Is it Corley?
yeah,
Malachi
definitely,
Corley? Yeah.
definitely.
Oh yeah. He the guy, man. I mean that's the guy. If you had to ask me, what receiver like would be perfect for the Lions is this guy, man. You know what I'm saying? And I know and I think Robert even said it. I think that the only thing with him is you worry that he getting the ball to him, but he don't play like that. Like he's got traits that the other Lions receiver already have where you can give it to him 10, 15 yards out
Mm-hmm.
in the red zone. You could throw it in the end zone and he'll damn sure battle and get the ball. I think he did it in Senior Bowl week, and my other guy Javon Baker, he did it too. We'll get to him, but yeah. But Malachi Corley is a damn good prospect. You brought this your guy. You brought him to my attention. I didn't know really that much about him. I hadn't heard of him, at the beginning of the season. I think Malachi Corley gonna be good NFL receiver. You know what I'm saying? If I had to, I don't know, man. I don't want to say. I'm trying to think of a guy. I don't even want to say Jamar Chase. I'm not going to say that. I was just going to say maybe because he's too small to be a Jamar Chase type. Maybe Deshaun Jackson, maybe a little bit more rah-rah, a little bit more strength. He may not be as fast as Deshaun. I like this guy, man. You know what I'm saying? Now, Western Kentucky, I'm not familiar with the quarterback there, but it seemed like the guy had a good arm. You know
Austin
what I'm saying?
Reed.
And was able to. Yeah. Give Reed. I couldn't think his name. Really got him to rock walk in the spots where he likes it. You could tell that he had a really good rapport, you know what I'm saying, together, quarterback receiver type thing. So it seemed like he had played. He likes to be in the playbook because he was always where he was supposed to be with his quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So I like Malachi Corley, man. You could get into his measurables and stuff, more because you know way more than me about him. But anybody that's looking for a receiver that want to look up this kid, man. You know what I'm saying? He can play ball. You know what I mean? He a damn good receiver, 5'10", 215, good size. He looks the part. It just like this would be a guy that could immediately you put him into a room with two established receivers or a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
You put him in the room with a receiver, a tight end as established, and two running backs. Dude, sky's the limit for this kid, man.
Yeah.
He's got to be in the right spot, though. You can't send him to Carolina and expect him to be a number one. Then he gonna have some trouble. But if he goes somewhere, where, like I said, it's another. You send him to an Atlanta, you send him to a team like Pittsburgh, or you send him somewhere where they kind of got a little bit on offense. He gonna shine, man. Especially with here with the Lions. So this your guy, Walt.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are turned off by the size. He's not small, he's just short. He's 5'10, but so is Roman Wilson. So is a lot of these other wide receivers that we're going to go through, but he's built like a running back. He reminds me a lot of Chris Chambers. You remember Chris Chambers? Played at Wisconsin, got drafted by the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
He was dude built like a running back, 5'10. I think he was like 220 as a wide receiver, long arms, whatnot. I view Malachi Corley more as a weapon, sort of like Deebo Samuel. He's a guy who you can get the ball. It's not just he can make plays downfield, and I think he's more refined as a route runner in college than what Deebo was when he came out of South Carolina. But you're absolutely right. You put him in our offense. You look at Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, as Robert mentioned in the comments, says like our offense isn't really predicated off pushing the ball downfield. It will be, I think, some next year because I think the trust within Jameson Williams has grown tremendously. So we don't really need necessarily a deep threat anymore. We love to have guys who can make plays after the catch. That's what our running backs do when they get involved in the pass game. That's what St. Brown is. That's what Sam Laporta is. We're more of a horizontal offense. We're more of a horizontal offense over a vertical offense. That's just how it is. And if you're looking for a guy who can take anything to the house, he's that type of dude. And to go back and look at some of his numbers from this season, 15 tackles force. That was tied for 50th in the country. Screen catches. He had 42 screen catches, which made him second in the country. He had 61 catches from the slot, which was tied for 30th. He had 330 yards that came off of screens this past season, which made him number one in the country.
Yeah.
And then yards after catch. We talked about yards after catch. He averaged 8.6 yards after the catch this past season, which made him 18th in the country amongst all wide receivers.
Huge. Yeah, that's huge.
So in the NFL today, where it's not so much about the Randy Moss guy, the Calvin Johnson guy, the Julio Jones guy, it's about getting the ball in space to your playmakers and letting them do the work, which is pretty much what our offense is. I think Malachi Corley would be a perfect fit for us. And then we talk about toughness with Brendan Rice. He's the same way. This dude 5'10", 215 pounds, and I didn't see anybody throughout the last couple seasons that honestly wanted to tackle this dude.
Yeah. Because for me, to have another, and we always hear Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes saying they got to be our guy. You know what I'm saying? They got to fit what we're doing, and I think he fits, man. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, just because of that ability to be able to make something out of nothing, I think you can never have enough guys that can do that. You know what I'm saying? And I do like the yak. I put after the catch with him, I had yak yards, which, like I said, that fits. Like Brandon Ayuk, we seen that. We see, what I'm saying, guys who can get the ball in space and still like do something with the ball, not just catch it and go out of bounds or fall out of bounds or fall forward, or he can get the ball, mush somebody in the face, stiff arm, and then take it up, get you an extra 5, 6, 7 yards. So I think this is a kind of guy that fits like the mold of what we're trying to do here, in Detroit. So yeah.
Definitely. Let's move on to the last wide receiver from Senior Bowl that we're going to talk about. This is your boy. I like him as well, too. We're going to talk about Javon Baker.
Yeah.
Javon Baker from the University of Central Florida via Alabama. So, that's right. We got another Alabama Crimson Tide player up here. Let you know if he was good enough. Well, I think he was a 4-star recruit coming to high school, matter of fact. But
yeah, he's 4-star.
A lot of dudes went to Alabama and they left. They want to play. They want to get some film out there so they can get to the NFL. And boy, when you watch him, even outside of the senior, when you watch him outside of the Senior Bowl, I think his feet. I think this Senior Bowl 2024 was the Senior Bowl of the route runners.
Mhm.
His feet. Another dude that we're not going to talk too much about, maybe towards the end of the show, Jamari Thrash of Louisville, who went to Georgia State for about 3 seasons. His feet, Javon Baker's feet, and Roman Wilson's feet. Those to me were the 3 best guys when it came down to route running, suddenness, quick twitch, being able to put DBs on skates, being able to redirect, change directions. Those
Mhm.
3 dudes I thought were the best. Javon Baker, very similar to Calvin Ridley to me. Very similar.
Mhm.
He's a guy who, and I talked to somebody about this a couple of days ago. It wouldn't shock me if Javon Baker became somebody's number one in a couple years. He's got that type of talent. You look at the 6'1", the 208, could get to 6'2", could be 6'1 and a half. When they come out of college at 208, I just assume that these dudes are going to get to 215. He gets to 6'1", 215, maintains that same suddenness, that creativity in his routes. And what I love about him and Jamari Thrash, they were show-offs with their routes. When
Mhm.
it came down to the one-on-ones all week, they wanted to put DBs in blenders. They wanted to show off how great they were as route runners. And I love that because it shows the competitiveness. He and Roman Wilson are completely different from what Brendan Rice was. Now, even though Brendan Rice may not fit who Jared Goff is, ain't nobody gonna hold your hand as a veteran quarterback throughout this. If we have a guy on the board who's a big time talent, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna pass on the big time talent because his talent makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Figure out a way to get this dude the ball. Jamison Williams is a bit downfield. As a quarterback, it's your responsibility to figure out a way to get this gazelle the football. I'm not gonna pass on a big time talent because Goff may not be able to get on the ball. Goff needs to get on the ball. And if he can't, we need to move on to somebody else. That's my whole thing. I'm not going to really dumb down the wide receiver room to make Goff comfortable. We
Yeah.
need as much talent as possible. And we've been talking
That's
about
right.
a number one wide receiver in X. I'm not sure if Javon Baker or Malachi Corley or even Roman Wilson are X's, but we know one thing for sure.
They fit,
Brent,
bro. They
yeah, they
this guy
fit.
fit. This guy fit
They
right
fit.
here.
But the thing is,
They
they fit, but we know we also need somebody different. You can't have 6 of the same exact wide receivers either.
correct. Correct.
You
Because yeah,
know,
I this is what I envision with him. I could see 6'1", 208. First of all, those are attributes that no one's got on our team. You know what I mean? They're not, they don't have the measurables right now. You know what I'm saying? So this guy right here will be an instant guy that's physical at the line of scrimmage. Walt, I mean, at the Senior Bowl, this guy had a
his
damn good
quickness.
man. This guy had a damn good Senior Bowl. He beat everybody. Everybody
Yeah.
he went against on the goal line, he beat everybody. Sideline, tiptoe, over the shoulder, diving for balls, catching the ball, intermediate range, mushing somebody, and then turn around, making the catch and running it upfield. I love that in a receiver when you can get the ball, catch it on one side of your shoulder, come back, and then turn up field, man, and get some extra yards. That's an NFL receiver to me. You know what I'm saying? And this guy, listen, if you was to tell me the Lions drafted this kid in the second round, he may. It depends on what he does. I want to see how he runs because this guy could play himself into a high second round pick, man. Day 2, first couple picks in the second round. If you was to tell me the Lions took this kid, I wouldn't be upset because I know that this guy a dog, man, and he fits everything with Detroit. I'm telling you, they would be hemming and hawing like they was last year. Taking Gibbs, taking, what we took. And then when you see him on the field, people will be like, damn, I see why they took him. You know what I mean? Guarantee you. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, he's the last receiver we're talking about, but man, he could be the best of the group, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I like to look at the grades on these players and look at the snaps and everything to see exactly how they were used in college. He's out of all the receivers we talked about right here, Brendan Rice was predominantly on the perimeter as an X. Roman Wilson slot, Malachi Corley a slot. Javon Baker this past season took 102 snaps from the slot. He took 275 snaps out wide. He only had 52 catches, but he had 52 catches for 1,139 yards. He averaged 22 yards per catch with 7 touchdowns. And then you go into his grades. He had an overall receiving grade of 84.3, which is tremendous. His contested catch rate was 56.3%, which is also very good. And his grade against man coverage was 83, which is very, very solid. Now, the problem with him is the drops. He had a drop rate of 10.3%, which is unacceptable at the next level. Dropping that many passes. Well, he only has 6 drops on the season. That may not sound like a lot to a lot of people, but in this day and age in the NFL, man, dropping 6 passes in the season might get you cut.
Yeah.
So he does have to work on the hands, similar to Brendan Rice. But one thing's for sure, man, deep routes. I mean, deep yards. He had 574 deep yards, which ranked him 8th in the country. And then you look at deep catches. He had 15 deep catches on the season, which tied him for 3rd. So if you look at the route running, you look at the size, you look at the ability to get downfield, I don't think he's that fast. I could be wrong. He an Alabama boy, a former Alabama boy. So you don't go to Alabama without being able to run. I'm not sure how fast he really is.
That's
But
what I
from
want to see him run. Yeah.
what I saw at the Senior Bowl during Senior Bowl practice, this was a dude that sets you up to get deep. That's why I made the Calvin Ridley comparison. He's a dude that I think can be that type of wide receiver moving forward to the next level. And that's pretty much why I think he could possibly be somebody's ex in another couple years. So, but all right, man. That right there knocks down the wide receiver group. Let's go over it. Let's stay on the offensive side of the football, but let's go to a guy that I like a lot, you like a lot, and I'm not sure if the Lions will take him. We have discussed the potential need for offensive tackle within the next couple years. We have no idea what's going to go happen with Decker. We already discussed the fact that sometimes tackles can just fall off a cliff out of nowhere.
Yep.
There's needs also along the rest of this offensive line. But boy, when you talk about Tyler been getting a lot of pub over the past couple months. He outperformed what a lot of people thought he would perform at throughout this season. But you're talking about a guy who's 6'7", 328 pounds. He's built like a basketball player. If I'm not mistaken, he came to Oklahoma as a tight end. And former basketball player in high school, kind of built like it. I ain't like the way he looked in the shorts. Paul.
Yeah.
But know, the legs, the skinny legs or whatnot, he definitely needs to fill out the lower half. But when you look at the aggressiveness, the long arms, the meanness, the ability to consistently mirror guys, and the competitiveness. Like he was out there over this week calling dudes out. He called out Chris Braswell, the edge rusher from Alabama. And I like to see that, man. I want come Senior Bowl, and I think pretty much what all these NFL GMs and scouts want to see, they want to see you dudes compete, bro. They want to see you at the head of the line, not the back of the line. And Guyton made himself a whole lot of money, bro. I like him a lot.
Yeah. I like Tyler Guyton. I gave you this guy. You was asking me, for some prospects, and I think he's raw, what I'm saying, obviously, but who, half of these guys are raw, to be honest, especially on the offensive line. You know what I'm saying? Tyler Guyton is a guy, he's got a little mean streak to him. Only thing I think he does has a tendency to put his hands a little bit too high, you know what I'm saying, from what I've seen on the tape. You know what I mean? That could be a lot of holding penalties in the NFL, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? I think that could all be coached out of him. You know what I'm saying? This is going to be very interesting with this kid, man. 6'7", 328 to trade the side. The measurables are there, Walt. I think, his body could change, once you get him in the weight room, high profile NFL, weight room, stuff like that. I think you can turn him into something. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't know. I think mostly he played Gabriel was the quarterback. He played the right side, if I'm not mistaken, at Oklahoma this year. So I could see him maybe, having to be groomed to be a starter. I don't know if you plug and play him right away. You know what I'm saying? A situation like we are talking Lions a little bit for some of these guys. I mean, I can see, you bringing this kid in and absolutely putting him in the system, maybe not starting him right away, you know what I'm saying? And just have him work himself into shape, that type of thing. But I like Tyler Guyton. You know what I mean? He's good with the run, especially we run a lot of duo sets with Gibbs and Montgomery, and he excelled in those situations where he pulled and went to the well, he was on the right side, but you can see him pulling all the way over to the left, and by the play is over, he's already ran the linebacker out the play twice. You know what I'm saying? I've seen him do that on numerous occasions on tape. So for me, I do like Tyler Guyton. He is he's maybe a little bit of a project, but I'm cool with that because our offensive line is semi-built, but we do have to kind of replenish that position, man. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of people don't realize how fast, you may need an offensive line. You know what I'm saying? Listen, we pride ourselves on having one of the top, NFL lines in the league, and rightfully so. But like you said, man, another year play, we played 3 extra games this year, you know what I'm saying, with these guys. So, another training camp, another season will start up, another preseason, then you go through another season. There's a lot of football, on those tires, Decker and, like you said, Graham Glasgow only signed for 1 year. You know what I'm saying? You got Ragnow, who's, still kind of long in the tooth, but he's still effective. So, yeah, it's going to come a time where you do have to maybe invest some high draft picks in some offensive line guys. You know what I mean? He's one of them. He's not my favorite guy on our list, but he's a guy that I definitely would consider. You know what I'm saying? Later on in the draft.
I don't think about later. This boy might be a first round pick. I'm pretty sure he's played himself
Really?
until yeah, you gotta realize, man, if you look at just the raw physical tools during this time of year, teams listen, I understand he didn't perform all that well this season. He really didn't. I know you look at the fact he only gave up 2 sacks in 3 years at Oklahoma in the amount of snaps he had. But you're talking about this season he gave up 9 hurries, 3 quarterback hits. And does any of it bother you? This is something that kind of bothers me about him and has me question his overall power and strength because he's not a left tackle. And we already know most of the time the tackles who go in the first round are the left tackles. He's exclusively a right tackle. He only took 1 snap at left tackle in 2023 and 661 snaps at right tackle. 2022, he had 50 snaps at left tackle and 350 at right tackle. So he's a right tackle. Now, the problem is this. I'm not sure if he just wasn't good enough to beat anybody else. Was it Wanye Morris? I think, Wanye Morris was the left tackle there, I believe, a year ago.
You got drafted, right?
Yeah, he got drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs, matter of fact. But you were never able to play left tackle. Left tackle is the money spot right there. And considering the fact that this past season he had a run block grade of 60.5, he had a zone block grade of 55, and he had a true pass block grade of 59. That coming from a right tackle, when it comes to being able to set the tone and really get out and do what we need you to do as far as the run game is scary. Because I think those type of numbers point directly to his lack of strength.
Yeah.
And you can't have a right tackle with a lack of strength. Remember, the left tackle is pretty much the pass protection spot. The right tackle, you expect that dude to pretty much anchor the run game and be a mauler. That's not what he is. Now, for whatever reason, they never played him at left tackle, which is odd to me as well.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think the Lions. I don't think the Lions will take him because I think the Lions have other glaring issues than left tackle or right tackle in the first round or first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I like the talent, but it's also buyer beware. Not for us. I don't give a damn. If he goes somewhere else and it don't work out, that's different. But I think somebody's going to get him. And to me, I'm going to just say this. When I look at him, I see boom or bust. Period. I see boom or bust. You can be a team that takes him and keeps him at right tackle and destroys his confidence in his career. Because if you can't move the ball from right tackle in college, I don't see how you can do that shit in the NFL. Then
Yeah.
like I said, what concerns me is, okay, well, how come they never played you at left tackle? Left tackle is not the type of position you really want to learn on the job in the NFL. But like I said, if you're looking at the God-given ability and how he competed over the weekend and the size and whatnot, and considering the love affair these GMs and these scouts have with these dudes who used to be former basketball players and former tight ends, and I can take that raw talent and I can turn him into this and turn him into that. Some dudes never turn into anything. So when I look at him, man, I see complete boom or bust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. Like not, I would dare take him high. I mean, that's just me because to me, it just seems like a project to me. You know what I'm saying? Like
He is.
you know what I mean? For me, first rounds, I wouldn't take him that high. You know what I'm saying? Maybe if he slipped, you know what I mean? That's where I was kind of going with it. But yeah, I mean, I can see everything you just said. You was right on the money because that's how I was thinking. He's not a guy that I would take high. That's all. You know what I'm saying? He's a guy, put him in your system and let him, obviously get some reps, you know what I'm saying? Go, with the second unit this year, you know what I'm saying, and be a guy that goes through the
Definitely.
system. You know what I
I
mean?
think he a
And
dude that needs to sit. But
yeah,
the
yeah.
scary part is somebody, I don't think he's going to sit. And
Mhm,
that's a fear I have for him, because I do have concern for all these young men as far as getting to the NFL, having a solid, long, healthy career, and making a ton of money. I want to see
mhm,
all of them do it. But my fear with him is that he's going to go somewhere and they're going to destroy his confidence. They're
mhm.
going to put him in a situation he has no business being in. Somewhere they're going to start him from day one out there at left tackle, probably, because at the end of the day, they're not going to draft you in the first round in most cases. When teams need a tackle, we're different as far as the Lions, because when we drafted Penei Sewell, we already had Terrell Decker, who was an established tackle in this league. If he goes somewhere to a team that doesn't have that,
Yeah.
oh boy, it's going to be a problem. Or if he doesn't have a good supporting cast along that offensive line, like let's say the Jets. Let's say the Jets take him.
Mhm.
I'd be worried to death about that boy with the Jets,
Yeah.
considering the situation they have, because if he goes somewhere where he's expected to be the savior of that offensive line, you're going to be sadly mistaken, I think. I could be wrong. He could turn out to prove me completely wrong, and I hope he does. But to me, he's too much of a gamble. He's too much of a
Yeah.
project for a team, for a bad team to take and expect him to just jump in and save the whole situation. Now, if he goes somewhere good, let's say Dallas takes him, which I had him mocked to Dallas in my last mock draft. You put him next to Tyler Smith, or you put him on the right side. You keep him on the right side with Terrence Steele or whatever. However you choose to do it with Dallas.
Yeah.
I think he'll be good with Dallas. I do.
Yeah.
But there's, like I said, he's another guy that I think is going to have to go to the right situation. But
Yeah. Yeah.
let's
Of
talk about
course.
somebody who may not need to go to the right situation, because overall they might just be that guy, man.
This the
And
guy right here. Yeah.
yeah, Jackson Powers Johnson, the center
Mhm.
out of Oregon, who can also play some guard, man. Explain this for people who are asking, oh, why the hell are y'all talking about a center? You guys are idiots. Talk to them about this.
No, this guy right here. This guy would be like the only guy other than defensive end cornerback I would take in the first round. I'm telling y'all. I mean, 6'3", 320. He's everything that you want in an NFL center, man. Super versatile, Walt. This guy will block 20 yards down the field. Perfect to have. If you was to have this guy with you let Ragnow, if Ragnow's going to play it out this year,
Mm-hmm.
and have you said it in the pre-show. You was absolutely right. Have this kid play either guard position on the next to Ragnow, next to Sewell. I think they'll even be even better than it was last year. You know what I'm saying, on the offensive line, man. I think that this guy is like probably the best lineman in the league. I mean, best lineman in the draft, my opinion. Coming out of the center position. Listen, it's a reason why everybody like JPJ. You're gonna hear way more about this kid before he gets drafted. You know what I'm saying? He won't even be there. Like when the Lions pick at 29, what we got, 29 or 30. This kid won't be there. You know what I'm saying? He's a top 20 pick. You know what I'm saying? Easy. Can do it all. You know what I'm saying? Can do it all in the run game. Damn sure can do it in the pass game. Keeps his blocks in the run game. Like I said, blocks 10, 20 yards down the field. I'm surprised that they didn't run the ball more, but that's not what Oregon is. Oregon is more of a, spread you out type offense,
Yeah.
herky jerky type, weird play calling and stuff like that. And he excelled, he just did his best work against Washington's defensive line, which Washington, all of those guys are NFL players, man, with the Huskies. And he held his own against them guys. 6'3", 320 is all you got. You got me sold on that because he's not too big to where he can't move, and he's not too tall where he's long and lanky and can't beat, we're getting beat to the mark every time by his guy. So you're not going to be able to move this kid. I mean, he controlled everything at the line of scrimmage. You're not going to be able to just hike the ball and just run this guy over. There's no way. You know what I'm saying? And he's still raw. I mean, just wait until he really get the NFL seasoned attributes that he needs, with the right NFL team. I would love if the Lions drafted this guy, Walt. You know what I'm saying? The limit would be when would you take him? Like, let's just say in a perfect scenario, if he's there late first round, man. I mean, I know people want to jump through the TV and just punch Brad Holmes for not taking a defensive end, but having a guy like this would solidify everything, I think, up front. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't have any issues about, like, if Frank retires, what the hell are we going to do? Because you can move him to guard right now. Like you said, I didn't even think of that. I mean,
it's a smart need pick. Yeah, I think a lot of Lions fans not seeing that. They just see all the defense. As you mentioned, man, the offense is the backbone of what Dan Campbell and them built this team on. And if we don't have an offensive line, we don't have shit.
Right.
So you got to keep replenishing the offensive line.
Perfect guy. And remember, we said it's about 3 or 4 guys every draft since we've been doing these drafts that I would definitely take. Some guy, let's just say you have your board set for your guys that you're going to take. Okay. Every year, it's a guy that becomes available when you pick, and then it wrecks the whole board, right? And I think he's the first guy on my list that I got a list of guys that I want, okay? Like with the first couple picks in the draft, needs, namely defensive back, cornerback, defensive end, receiver. But this guy, if he's available, I'm changing. Looks like when we took Gibbs and kind of did a 380 and changed our whole draft process, I would do it with him. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel about him. So, yeah, I mean, just tell the people like a little bit more. I mean, for me, well, you know me, I'm sold already on this kid. You know what I'm saying? Before the combine,
he's a hell of a football player, man. And I think at the end of the day, Lions fans just need to understand that you look at Penei Sewell, who's the rock of this offensive line. Maybe we're a Frank Ragnow retirement away. We're Taylor Decker falling off a cliff, situation away. Jonah Jackson leaving in free agency. As we stated a few days ago, we have 6 offensive linemen that are up for free agency as unrestricted this offseason. So while most Lions fans say, oh, the offensive line is great, we don't need anything, bullshit. Like, if you just because you're good one year don't mean you're gonna be great the next year. And once you start losing players and guys get hurt, this guy right here, I guarantee, is on Brad Holmes' draft board and Dan Campbell.
Yeah,
because they're smart, they're football people at the end of the day. They're not just knee-jerk fans who just want this or want that. Not saying he has to be the pick, but if they took this young man, this young man at 29, I wouldn't bat an eye at it. The first thing I would say is Brad Holmes is smart and he gets it. Because let's say Frank walks away, because Frank has the ability to walk away. The man's hurt. Let's say Frank walks away in the next month or so. He absolutely becomes a pick, I think. Absolutely. And if you look at what he's done, I think there's a little caveat to some of the numbers he put up. But you're talking about a dude who started 31 games at center for Oregon.
Yeah.
In those 31 games, he gave up a total of 3 hurries in 31 games. How many hits you think he gave up?
I would say one.
Damn, you're right. This boy
Yeah.
gave up one quarterback hit in 3 years,
Yeah.
and he
One,
gave up
bro.
0 sacks in 3 years.
One, bro. That's like Penny Sewell numbers. That's crazy. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? That's exactly. And I'm listen. I mean, we're gonna be beating this kid's drum. You know what I'm saying? Before the draft, and he's got it all. And I don't think we would be the only team that I don't think his kid will be there. You know what I'm saying? That's number one. I'd be shocked if he's there. I'm saying it
I
right
doubt if
now.
he gets past Miami.
Yeah, he's not
He
gonna
might
be
go
there.
before Miami.
You know what I mean? But this kid's a prospect, so
Yeah, I mean, like I
top.
said, then like you said, you brought it up to the versatility. Even if Frank, let's say they decided to make him the pick at 29 if he's there, or they traded up a few spots to get him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're still in a situation, and Frank comes back. You're in a situation where it's not a wasted pick. The first thing fans love to say is, "Oh, damn, wasted pick." He's not a wasted pick. You can play him at guard. You can play him at right guard for a year. And if Frank decides to walk away at the end of the 2024-2025 season, you just slide this young man over to center, which is his natural position he's played since high school, and you hit the ground running. That way you have a situation where the heart and soul of your offensive line is still there. What are the two most important positions on your offensive line? Center and left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
You have, as long as you have those two positions set, you can fill in with some other players. So, like I said, for Lions fans who may view this as something that's silly, and Ashanti and I try to view this team as deep as we can from a GM's perspective. And just because you see that you have a certain position group that's good for 1 year or a couple years, things can fall off very quick. And everything is predicated offensively off of the run game. If we lose this offensive line and it fades into obscurity, we lose the offense.
Yep.
And if we lose the offense, we lose Jared Goff.
Yep.
And Jared Goff ain't going nowhere anytime soon, for that matter. So, as I mentioned, I think a guy like Jackson Powers Johnson is absolutely on the board for us. He's on our draft board. Lions fans should get used to it. You probably see some mock drafts mocking him to us, just to be real about it. Let's get to some of these comments, man. Mike Fisher, Mike, you a smart man. Mike gets it. Mike says, Holmes knows exactly what's happening to our line. Without our vets, we are younger than Green Bay. Smart man. Mike also says, O-line is a definite focus, guaranteed. Smart man, Mike. Let's go see. What's up, Rob? Rob says, it ain't silly at all. Some positions have to stay strong, and we have to cater to Goff. Smart ass man. Mike Fisher, another comment says, Source will be seen as a great draft real soon. He looks good for so young. That's something else I'm going to talk about. If he pans out, look how young, because Sewell just finished his 3rd year in the league. Yeah. Panay's still only, 22?
Yeah.
We will have one of the youngest, most talented offensive lines in the league, especially if Source pans out. So you guys get it. We can't afford to let this offensive line fall by the wayside. Not with Goff. We don't have a big-time mobile quarterback. And with the way everything is looking right now, Goff is going to be our guy, moving forward. So I'm glad fans who are watching this, they get it and they get the grasp of where we're trying to go with this, because you and I look at this, and I'm Mike Fisher, Rob, get it. We look at this team from, okay, you know what? We won 14 games this year, 12 in the regular season, 2 in the postseason. How do we get further? And how do we make sure we don't fall to a 9-win team next season?
Mm-hmm. By making little subtle moves like this, you know what I'm saying?
And it's something that as fans, we're not used to. We're not used to having, we're used to coming off of a 5-win, 4-win season, maybe a 6-win season, and being in a situation where we got to replenish everything. And I don't think we're involved in that right now. We're in a situation right now where we kind of got to top off a little bit.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of maintenance and we'll be okay for the most part. So, all right, man. Let's go ahead to the defensive side of the football. We can start with these defensive tackles, man. Let's start with your boy, A lot of the Michigan fans don't want to hear this or see this, but we're gonna start out with
This
Michael.
my guy. Oh
We're gonna
yeah,
start out with
yeah,
Michael Hall Jr. of
yeah. Oh
Ohio
yeah.
State, man.
Baller, man.
Um,
Baller. Yep. He's surprisingly stronger than I thought. You know what I'm saying? Surprise. He's
yeah,
got some sneaky, toughness to him, man. I like Michael Hall Jr. He'd be perfect. You know what I'm saying? He'd be perfect. What I did like is he did make some plays from the inside position. To get to the quarterback wall. We haven't seen that productivity, that he can bring since Adamakin Sue. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Sue, a little bit, maybe not as big, but he's definitely more nimble. Definitely a guy who's got a nasty streak. This guy, Michael Hall, was man. This guy was amazing against Notre Dame this year. You know what I'm saying? He took over the game. I really like Michael Hall what he brings, Walt. What he does is he stays low. You know what I'm saying? He dominate. It just seemed like he always got the right leverage, man. Every time, soon as the hike, soon as the quarterback hikes the ball, this guy just goes to work, man, on who's ever in front of him. And I think having a little bit of dog in you, and remember, we want dogs, and I think Campbell wants dogs, and this guy brings everything to the table. You know what I mean? 6'2" people would say, oh, well, maybe he's not big enough. I'm not too worried about that because he's got that mean streak, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you'll be able to push this guy around. He's able to like I said, make sacks from the with his hand in the dirt, type of thing, and stop the run. I seen him make. Only thing I could say is this: he did it against the Michigan game too. He tried to make a lot of tackles with one arm. Couldn't get off the break, couldn't get off the block quick enough, and maybe gets in trouble getting off his block a little bit. That's the only thing I've seen at the line of scrimmage, but damn near every time he won, man. That Ohio State defensive line is pretty good. I mean, that's what makes it so impressive with Michigan beat them because Ohio State, those guys are pretty good up front. You know what I'm saying? And he was the main reason why. I think that having this guy is going to be, I could definitely see him second round pick, Walt. You know what I'm saying? A guy that could control him. He may be first round. I don't know how much high regard that other teams might have him as, but I would definitely take this guy. I mean, perfect for our offensive line. Maybe it might be a situation if we took him, then Josh Pasco might be looking over his shoulder a little bit because they kind of play the same position, it seems. But I think he more of a dog. I think he, like Robert just said, straight killer, man. I really like Michael Hall Jr.
yeah, I agree 1,000%. I don't like the lack of size, the 6'2", 280. He's I think we got enough of those type of guys, but if he turns out to be a tremendous interior game wrecker, I don't give a damn. But you're looking at Pascal and some other guys, not necessarily Levi. Levi, I'm pretty sure was gone, but just the natural ability to get to the quarterback. We talked about Kalijah Cansey last year. Now he's bigger than Kalijah Cansey, but he holds his own also when it comes to the run game better than Kalijah did in college and better than Kalijah did with Tampa.
Yeah.
Tampa was a complete liability in Tampa. I think Cansey this season as a rookie was a complete liability in the run game for Tampa, but he got penetration in the pass game. That's what he did. That was his calling card in college. And once he got to Tampa, that's exactly what he did. Now, for me, I will say this about Michael Hall Jr., and I want to go to some of the stats. This is what really jumped out to me. Now, he only had 2 sacks. He only had 22 hurries. I'm not really stuck on that. I would like to see a higher sack grade. A lot of that has random things to do with that when guys don't have it there. I try to go myself to the pass rush win rate. He had a pass rush win rate of 18.3, which puts him in complete elite territory. He had a pass rush grade, an overall pass rush grade of 84.8, and he had a true pass rush grade of 87.6. So that right there lets you know the dude is skilled. He's very skilled with his hands. The get off and the initial quickness and the ability to get skinny through the gaps. He may be, and I'm gonna say this right now, along with Jazon Newton of Illinois, he may be 1A, 1B, maybe just two, maybe just no, the second best interior, natural interior pass rusher in this class. If Michael Hall was 6'3", 300, you talking about a dude who's a first round pick.
Yeah,
I honestly believe it, but the lack of size, the 6'2", 280, I think is something that's going to scare a lot of scouts away until like later rounds.
yeah, yep. Totally agree. I totally agree. He's on my radar. He's one of the guys I got for us to draft. You know what I'm saying? And I'm compiling my, when we do our show, guys that you want to see in a Lions uniform, he's one of them for me.
Because I want to say something, and I meant to comment on this when we were talking about Jackson Powers Johnson. One thing that did worry me about him, and maybe his numbers being a little inflated, Jackson Powers Johnson, that is the fact that if you look at the offense Oregon played in, we talked about it with Bo Nix. Everything is quick, 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 quick. Hand
Mm-hmm.
out of the ball, bubble screens, extended handoffs,
Mm-hmm.
end around. Like everything is very, very quick when it comes to the pass game in Oregon. So are your pass protection numbers inflated a little bit because there wasn't so many 6 and 7 step drops?
Could be.
Because you didn't see Bo Nix just drop back a lot and just survey the field and get rid of the football like that. He did it sometimes, but if you just look at what Oregon's offense is predicated off of, are your pass protection numbers a little inflated because you weren't really put in situations where you had to hold on to, well, your quarterback had to just hold on to the ball a whole lot. There wasn't really a lot of long developing routes within that
Mm-hmm.
Oregon offense. And when it was, there was mainly deep shots to Troy Franklin, the wide receiver, who could potentially be a first round pick. So, um, like I said, I like Michael Hall a lot. I don't think he's a starter. I think he's another rotational guy. He's probably a pass rush specialist on third down and other
Mm-hmm.
passing downs, third and long, second and maybe a second and long, depending on the type of offense you're playing
Mm-hmm.
against. But I definitely think Michael Hall is a hell of a player, man. Hates to say that because he's a Buckeye, but hell of interior pass rusher. He's a dude that I think could really help us in rotation for sure. Um, let's bring up another guy, man. One of the most polarizing players, I think, in this class when it comes to the defensive tackle position, and that's Tavondre Sweat, big
Yeah.
fella out of Texas, 6'4", 362. That 6'4", 362 is what he measured in, I think, mid-season. Because for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, he decided to not work out at the Senior Bowl. Not work out. He decided to not weigh himself. Didn't do the measurables, which had me thinking he may be closer to 370, which is scary. But you go ahead and you tackle Devondre Sweat first, brother.
Man, listen, this guy's a huge, huge stopgap in the middle. I'm scared to death of this guy, man. I wouldn't take this guy high at all. I mean, that's just me. I got a bad feeling about him. He's a mountain of a dude, 6'4", 362. Um, it's a couple other guys I would take way before him, at the same position. But he is a prospect. He's super strong. He's a big dude. Like I said, I don't know if he's quick enough. I don't know if he's too raw for me, Walt. I mean, like, what I'm getting at is, yeah, I mean, it looks like another Broderick Martin to me. I mean, even though it's a different position, but I don't need another guy like that because we need immediate help. I'd rather go with somebody a little bit more seasoned. You know what I'm saying? To me, I wouldn't take him. You know what I mean? At all. For me, I want somebody right I can plug in there. Just like Saiki Ika last year was kind of the guy we was kind of shooting for at that position. I want somebody a little bit more polished like that. They don't have to be 6'4", 360 to play, nose tackle in the NFL and be effective. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes size, at that position is not the end all be all. You know what I'm saying? If he's not quick enough or if his technique is lacking so a couple tools, I mean, he gonna get ate up in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? His first couple, years or first couple starts or however you want to put it. But for me, I mean, of what I seen on tape, yeah, of course. I mean, you seen a guy dominate, when you're playing less than talent, but he didn't really, pop off the tape for me. You know what I mean? As far as like, oh man, this guy is like, you know, a guy you gotta have on your offensive line. I
He
don't
did to
think so.
me.
You know,
I think
maybe
he's
so.
I think it's the same issue with Jordan Davis. Even though, and it's going to be interesting to see how he, because that's the dude he's going to be compared to. So how does Devondre Sweat work out at the combine? We all remember how epic Jordan Davis workout was at the combine, but Jordan Davis has had the same concerns and suffered from the same issues with the Philadelphia Eagles that he suffered from at Georgia. And same thing you were talking about. I mean, you can flash those plays or whatnot, but if you're a dude who can only play 35% of the snaps or 40% of the snaps, how valuable are you really? Now, when he's on the field, man, this dude is tremendous. You're talking about a dude who's elite against the run. He has an elite pass rush rate. His overall pass rush grade is good, is solid. And I think this year at Texas, they did a good job of showing him off more and exposing more of what he can do. He even has some snaps lined up over tackle this season as well, not just in the B gap, not just at zero lined up over the guard, and not just at one tech. So surprisingly, he showed a lot of different moves versatility wise when it comes to rushing the quarterback. So I think right there he's ahead of Jordan Davis when it comes to that. But he's better than Broderick Martin. I mean, we can at least say that. I think he's much better than what Broderick Martin is, at least coming out of college at this point in time. Now, are you talking about a first round pick? Because I heard rumors of him potentially being the first round pick. I don't know. I wouldn't do it. I think the lack of success that Jordan Davis has had his first couple years in the league is kind of like dimming people on these type of old school nose tackles.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody still wants these nose tackles, but they feel like I can either draft this type of dude mid-second round, or they take the approach Brad Holmes took, which is I'm gonna go draft the project in Broderick Martin in the third round, which turned out to be a reach so far. But the talent is definitely there, man. He can rush the passer. Like I said, he's a lead against the run. He's unblockable one-on-one. That's something he showed at the Senior Bowl as well. So would I take him at 29? Hell no. No, I wouldn't. If he's a guy that to me it just seems that if he works out properly at the combine and the pro days and get your weight down. He's a guy that he said at the Senior Bowl in an interview that whatever they want me to do, I'm willing to do. If they want me down to 350, I'll get down to 350. If y'all want me at 340, I said the same thing about Siaki Ika last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember we was talking about. Yeah,
Siaki Ika would be a much better nose tackle if he got down to 330. I just feel like most of these nose, especially the tall ones, the tall nose tackles, like I just feel like
because he's 6'4". He's a big dude, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
6'5". I really think he's closer to 6'5". So I like my nose tackles between 325 and 345.
Yeah.
Anything over that, even tackles. We talked about left tackles and right tackles. When dudes start getting to 340 and 350, I get scared because the bigger the athlete, it tends to be the more fragile they are. We talked about what's my man name, Mekhi Becton. I was terrified of Mekhi Becton when he came out
for the Jets, right?
And I turned out to be right so far about him. Now, DeJuan Jones of Cleveland, I said the same thing about him last draft, and DeJuan Jones turned out to make the all-rookie team.
You talking about for the Chiefs?
No, DeJuan.
From Ohio State. From Ohio State. Yep. Yeah. I wasn't high on him at all last year. I remember.
But he proved us wrong.
Remember I was saying DeJuan Jones, I wouldn't take him. Yeah, you're right.
I'm just those abnormal size athletes just kind of scare me, man. They do. And like I said, for a player that can only play 35 or 40% of the snaps, I just can't do it. I just not early, not for sure. Now, if you're a team that has a specific need, like let's say the Kansas City Chiefs, let's say the Chiefs lose Chris Jones in free agency. You want to bring that may be the best organizational fit for him. They may get the best out of him.
Mm-hmm.
You want to replace him? You want to replace Chris Jones with him? Even though you're talking about replacing a potential Hall of Famer, but I can see the Chiefs doing something like that towards the end of the first round. Not too many other teams, though, for that matter. But like I said, man, I mean, I think he's potentially a guy for us, just not in the first round. And let's hit some of these questions and some of these comments.
Yeah.
Got Mike Fisher. It's a
It's apropos. That
Okay, it's apropos that this year's draft is in Detroit. Super Bowl bid, I'm all in. Sure up the O line, get someone compliment Hutch, lock down DBs, and find a kicker. Yeah, for the most part, that is
yeah,
exactly what we need. And then
yep.
Mike got another comment. Lions have shown development to be somewhat slow, and we can judge development too much yet after 3 years. But roster retention for drafts are pretty high and very hopeful. That's true. That's true. I don't see him being the guy that Brad Holmes would really take a gamble on super early at all. But
Yeah.
I mean, I am a fan of Tavondre Sweat. I just want people to understand that. But
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, I mean, maybe for me, when I always come out of the Senior Bowl or just like these first couple weeks where we kind of really now the season's over, we're looking at prospects. Only thing that could change that for me is the combine. I mean, I think that, yeah, of course, like you said, him losing some weight, I think would be, more would show me that, okay, maybe he is like committed to this thing like that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he do love football like that. You know what I'm saying? To show that he wants to be more of, more of an NFL size. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing, you can't be an oversized nose tackle, man. I've seen too many times where that doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? You could go and be that, be that size, but like I said, how effective are you going to be? You know what I'm saying? From drive to drive and quarter to quarter, that type of thing. So for me, I don't keep my eye on him though. I gotta star by his name. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't want to detour the whole kid and mess up his whole confidence or anything like that, or down him or anything like that, because all of these kids are young men trying to make it to the NFL. So that's number one. You know what I'm saying? I never want to come
definitely,
across like that. You know what I'm saying? Like to try to say, oh, he, just throw him in the dumpster, he can't play. That's not the case. It's just, from how I see it right now. But
we
like I
just
said,
seen too many
yeah, a lot could
history
change.
wise. We've seen too many of these dudes fizzle out.
Yeah, but I can't say this though. I can't say we do need some size. I
Oh
agree with
yeah,
that.
definitely.
You know what I'm saying? With our offensive line, because think about it. I mean, Benito Jones, we had Isaiah Bugs to an extent. You know what I'm saying? And those guys are big dudes, but they don't maybe have the impact like maybe this guy. I mean, Project Martin, I was all in with Project Martin last year because I thought that Brad Holmes took him and it was something that we didn't have. You know what I mean? And this guy, Devontae Sweat, he has that too. It's just, I mean, man, just maybe like you said, drafting Project Martin, even though it was a different position, kind of got left a bad taste in my mouth. I don't want to take another project. I don't want to take a guy that you got to work with him. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I want to
I
just
think he's way further along than Broderick though. Like this dude played in the Big 12 for 4 years, so he's seen a lot of
yeah, he's
really good
solid, right?
offensive linemen.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, Western Kentucky as opposed to Texas. And of course, you playing against, NFL talent week in and week out. So I get it.
He was pretty dominant too. Oh, he was also playing next to Byron Murphy, another
Mhm.
defensive tackle that probably will get drafted well ahead of him, more of an
Yeah.
interior
Yeah.
pass rusher.
I
But
like him. I do like
yeah,
Byron Murphy. Yeah. Yep.
let's move on to another dude in the state of Texas, man.
Yep.
I like this dude more than a lot of other people do. And we're talking about McKinley Jackson, nose tackle from the University of Texas A&M. He's been on my radar since probably Thanksgiving. I know the 6'1", 330 doesn't bother me because he's a legit 6'1". He's not 5'11 and a quarter. He's not 6 foot. He's a legit 6'1". I think he's around 6'1 and a half, something like that. A well put together 330. When you
Mhm.
look at him, you're talking about the anchor, the stout lower body, the Dontari Poe type body.
Yeah.
He looks like that typical nose tackle that can actually move. One thing I noticed about him all season as well, A&M, you cannot. There was no guards that can handle him all season. Whenever he lined up at zero tech, it was consistent penetration and wreaking havoc in backfields. Now, once they moved him off a little bit to some one, not necessarily one, but to some two tech, if you get him in one on ones, he's powerful and he's violent. That's what I love about him. Now at
Mhm.
the Senior Bowl, I thought he was decent. He was on the ground a little too much for my liking. I think he played a little too low, if that makes sense to some people, because when you're 6'1" and you're going against these tackles and these guards that are 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", if you're too low and my arms are long enough and I got the reach advantage, I can just push you down. Or I can grab you and throw you off balance. I saw a couple reps during the week where he was thrown off balance. And I don't
Mhm.
know if he just needs to calm down a little bit. Same thing I said with Brendan Rice at the receiver position. Do you need to calm down a little bit off the line, because his get off is crazy. He's
Yeah.
gonna get there and he's gonna fight you. He's gonna punch you. So
Yeah.
he can do all the things you need him to do at nose tackle for sure at zero. He's the typical zero at 6'1", maybe 6'2", 330 pounds. He's that bowling ball that can move around and it can really wreak havoc in the pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Yep. I Yeah, that's not he's not one of my favorite guys right now either. I do like he is relentless though. You can see it right there on this caption right here. That you could see him on he'll hold his own. A little bit undersized, but man, he a pit bull. You know what I'm saying? At the
Yep,
word go, man. This guy right here don't mess around. I mean, another guy. Well, just sort of like man, I was gonna say Kalijah Cansey a little bit, but I think he look maybe a little bit more of a mean streak. I use Cansey because he's undersized. That's the first guy that came to my head. But yeah, I like him because I do think he does have a high motor. I do. I think that he likes to mix it up a lot. You could see him, immediately, find somebody to hit. You know what I'm saying? Can get to the quarterback. I do like that too about him. I like any lineman that could get to the quarterback from their hand in the dirt. I think that that's a skill that can't be coached, and he has it. You know what I'm saying? And I think it is a place for him in the NFL. I do. It's just he's not one of my top guys or not one of my favorite guys, but he is. He, trust me, he's better than a lot of guys that I've seen. Coming out, at this point. I mean, I wouldn't say like more like Sweat, where I was saying I wouldn't take him. I probably would take this kid. I mean, if he's there, I mean, he can complement what we have. I mean, that's what I like about him. You're not asking him to be
definitely.
the top guy, Walt, but he definitely, like Rob said it, just now, he got a nasty streak. And I think that everybody don't have that. And whatever that nasty, that dog, that man, I ain't taking no crap. He's got it. That's what I seen on tape with him. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad you did make that point about him like being on the dirt like a lot, because it did. I did see that too, where he would seem like he would fight to the end, even if he got overwhelmed or if he didn't get the leverage on that particular play. It would seem like he still was like a bear to deal with, to the whistle. He plays to the whistle too, and that's another thing I like about him. I like McKinley Jackson. I do. Well, I think that that's another guy. You can.
Rotational guy.
Yup, that could help your team, man. You know what I'm saying? He's more, like I said, he's more of a 3-4. No, he's more of a 4-3 guy, right? You would mostly use him 4-3, like,
Definitely, definitely.
yeah,
He's a 4-3. Depends on, well, you know what? I don't know. Because like honestly, from what I saw for him on the film throughout the season, as I mentioned earlier, he's hell to deal with at zero tech. I've seen him destroy a lot of centers this season. So is it possible at 6'1", 330, he can play that nose within the
mhm,
3-4?
yeah,
It's possible. He's a little short for my liking to play that 3-4 nose.
uh
I'm
huh,
thinking more so when that 3-4 nose of guys like DeForest Buckner, uh, Eric Armstead, those type of guys. Him being 6'1", 330 is a little bit of a scare.
hmm,
But I don't know, man. He's mean enough. As long as he can demand a double team at nose within that 3-4, he should be fine.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, like I said, he's not a guy who I would consider taking in the first round. I'm not even sure I would necessarily take him with our first pick in the second round. But
yeah,
if you're talking about a guy that slips a little bit, maybe to the third round, another rotational guy, you got Levi leaving, it's possible. I think it's real possible. So we're gonna
yeah,
keep it moving, man. We're gonna move on to a guy that you're not that high on. I can understand why completely. We seen a lot of these dudes. I don't know what it is about this body type, man, and this
Mhm.
stats, but the supersized old school Bruce Smith type of defensive ends, the 6'4", 6'5",
Yeah,
280 plus pound dude who can play some three technique, can play some four, can line up direct. Like he can do a lot of things. He can do a lot of
yeah,
things, but what scares me about him is you played at Missouri, um, big school. You played a lot against a lot of big time competition. You didn't really hit any radars until the Senior Bowl.
yeah.
And that's what scares me about a lot of these types of players. Like they struggle within the scheme of, I mean, within the realms of just regular defensive schemes. But when it comes to the one-on-ones, you're good, but can you play within the scheme of the defense?
Yeah, yeah. I got on this guy, man. He's raw as hell. He needs some work. You know what I'm saying? I compared him to Tyree Wilson last year.
Good
That's what I'm
comparison.
seeing. And I listen, just looking at him right now, he a B, he a workout monster, you could tell, but he didn't win enough for me. Wall. He didn't dominate. I barely even seen him put a hand on the quarterback in this Kentucky game, particular. I think he might have made a play or two. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. I didn't see him dominate at all. You know what I'm saying? He could be a good guy to maybe, like I said, cause some pressure on the outside and not get there. That's what I see. You know what I'm saying? I see any quarterback that can get the ball out quickly, give him some pride. He don't shed tackles as frequently as you would like. You know what I'm saying? So listen, I mean, I don't. I'm not. I don't want to bash the kid. I don't want to sound like I'm crapping on him like that. You know what I'm saying, Walt? Because I think he is an NFL. He will be an NFL football player, but I just not for the Lions. I don't think that we don't need a guy that can't get there. And trust me, put it in my face. If that guy turns out to be a baller, I'll be the first to say I was wrong. But I don't think that Darius Robinson's going to be a guy that's going to be like a high sack guy or anything like that. I just for me, Missouri is not known to be what do you a proving ground for NFL pass rushers. You know what I'm saying? So they're not really known for that. And Darius
Well, the
Robinson,
only
like
two
you
we know about offhand is what Alden Smith and
oh God, that's even worse
well,
to have him.
hey, hold on, he was tremendous. Now we ain't talking about the mental stuff.
Oh man.
But he was hey, remember how great of a player he was for the 49ers until things went horribly bad. But
Yeah, and then remember we got Charles Harris ourselves, so we know
yeah,
how that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't want to
I
crap
like
on
the
him.
tools. I mean, he
Yeah,
had 9 sacks. Now he didn't
yeah,
do anything the prior 2 years, which is kind of scary for him. But like I said,
yeah,
it's something about that body type, man. These dudes,
mhm,
like, and I brought up your boy from Keon White
yeah.
from Georgia Tech from a
From
year
Georgia
ago, who
Tech.
had that same body type. Mike Morris from the University of Michigan, those supersized defensive ends that you see the versatility, but you're not good. Let me not say that. You're not great at either position. But when you look at his measurables and you see how he performed at the Senior Bowl, and you look at the 9 sacks he brought in this season, and you look
Mhm.
at the fact that if you're gonna stay in that 4-2-5, we got to get bigger at the defensive end,
Yeah,
opposite Aiden. That's just where it is. Because within that defense, as a defensive end, you got to be able to man the run on the outside and consistently rush the
mhm.
quarterback. And you had to got to have some size and physicality for that. But I mean, I get it. I'm scared off of him a little bit too, but
Yeah, yeah,
you can't ignore the measurables, brother. You can't
yeah.
ignore the measurables, and those measurables are definitely there. So let's leave this position group alone and let's go to the cornerback position, man. We're gonna start with your boy Tyree, not Tyree, but Kyrie Jackson
Yeah, yeah,
of
baller right here.
Oregon, former Alabama Crimson Tide transfer. Go
Yeah,
ahead and shoot.
I'm just going off strictly what I know about this guy, man. Just strictly he's a cover demon. I like I said, I didn't watch every single game, every tape, every movement he ever made, but I'm gonna tell you this. I mean, he battled every time he was out there. He's absolutely he's got potential to be a number one corner to me. You know what I'm saying? He maybe not be the first on everybody's list, but he damn sure is in the conversation, man. I like Kyrie. He had to play against some damn good competition in that conference. You know what I'm saying? With the likes of USC, UCLA, Colorado to an extent, Oregon State, that's a damn good conference for offense. And when you can be mentioned as one of the top, defensive backs in the country and playing in that conference, that means you can play, man. I 6'3", 203. I love the measurables. I want my corners to be, around that height. That's right in my wheelhouse, right with where the average NFL receiver 6'1", you know what I'm saying, 6'2". So you got a guy at that size, you could absolutely contend and fight every play. you know, it, the days of us having these small cornerbacks, I think it might be over, man. I mean, give Aaron Glenn a guy like this to move around and to have and to maybe be. He could be on our defense walk. This guy's a number one cornerback. You know what I'm saying? That's what I see. You know what I mean? I could see him. You put him out there with what we already have, the experience. Given you can put Cam Sutton on the other side now, and you can put obviously Brian Branch. Who knows what's going to happen with Gardner Johnson? And then I'm ready to go. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to roll. Kirby Joseph. You put a guy like this in the mix. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm talking too highly of. You could tell me if I'm talking out of turn, but I like Kyrie Jackson. I think that he fights a lot. For the good of the team. And I think that when it comes down to it, he can make some plays. You know what I'm saying? I don't have his stats in front of me. This is the one guy I didn't write down his stats, but I know he's a guy. He's got to have a bunch of pass breakups, because I know I watched a couple games where he made a difference, man. He shut one side of the field down. So
Yeah, it's a no for me. I see the measurables. I know the pedigree. I know what he was coming out of high school. I remember what Kyrie was coming out of high school. I understand he was good enough to get into Alabama. He transferred to Oregon. He just gave up too many catches for me. And when I compare him playing in the same system that Christian Gonzalez played in last year, who was a top 20 pick, Christian just looked a lot more fluid to him. Now he's bigger than Christian. Christian measured in, I believe, at 6'1" even. There was talk about Christian being 6'2.5" and this and that, but by the time all the smoke cleared, Christian measured in at 6'1". He's a legit 6'3". And when I compare him to Christian Gonzalez, who was another big corner, long rangy corner, Christian just looked more like a natural than Kyrie. I watched Kyrie get beat a lot this season. Now, is that because he was being misused coverage-wise within that defense at Oregon? I don't know. But all I know is he was in the same damn defense coverage-wise, that scheme-wise, that Christian was in, and he looked a lot worse than Christian. And we talking about the quick twitch stuff, being able to handle the shifty guys, the Roman Wilsons.
Yeah.
Like when it came to those type of dudes, man, it was over for him. Now, what's weird about this is PFF right now has him ranked, I believe, as, let me see this, which is strange. I didn't think it was that far down, but right now they have him ranked as the 139th best prospect in this class. And there's a lot of strange names at corner ahead of him. Not to say strange names like I don't know who these people are, but these are guys that you would expect to be, from a skill set standpoint, underneath him, and they're not. So yeah, I don't know. If we talking about tall corners, I like Cam Hart from Notre Dame a little bit better. I think Cam Hart's physical as hell, extremely physical.
Yeah.
He's more sticky than Kyrie Jackson was, as far as guys not being able to get away from him and his ability to mirror dudes. Is the talent there? Sure, but I think sometimes we can be on the hunt for those taller corners and end up with some duds. Not to say they're going to be a dud, but just for me, I can't really do it. I can't do it. But I will say this.
Facts,
go ahead.
I hear you. No. I was gonna say facts. I hear what you're saying.
Let's go to somebody that I could put in our defense, and it's Quinyon Mitchell. 6'1". Let me go put his numbers up there. This dude had a hell of a combine. This dude had a hell of a Senior Bowl. Coming from Toledo, there were a lot of questions about him playing in the MAC, not playing against any real passing offenses, wide receiver wise, not having much competition. He went out there, and to me, he was the best corner all week. A guy who was expected to run somewhere in the low 4.3 range. Prototypical size, long arms, ball skills, ability to come up and play the run, mirror.
Yeah.
Um, Roman Wilson got him a couple times too, though. But
Mhm.
Roman got everybody. So, what's your thought on Quinyon
Yeah,
Mitchell?
love Quinyon Mitchell, man. This the guy right here. You know what I'm saying? This the guy you absolutely anybody want to see a tape of anybody that wants to see, a prototype what a cornerback should be is this kid, man. You know what I mean? 6 feet tall, 196, perfect size. You got the perfect dog. This guy's a dog. I mean, trust me, he's gonna be a first round pick, but he may be around when the Lions pick. I mean, this is the guy for right now. I mean, it may change. We
Well, after
might
the
put
Senior Bowl, we talking. I heard top 15.
yeah, well, man, that's awfully man. That would be off. No, not high, but I mean that would be a disappointment because it's just to the fact I want this kid to be available when we pick because this is the pick for me. You know what I'm saying? Well, and be to have him at 29 or 30. This right now, this is the guy I have pegged in our spot until further notice. You know what I'm saying? Because he's everything you want. You know what I'm saying? And a guy that could be potential. I'm just saying it's all based on potential. But a first round pick. I like it that he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's not. It doesn't have Alabama by his name. It doesn't have Clemson. I like Nate Wiggins too. You know what I'm saying? That's another guy that I got pegged in for the Lions right now. At that cornerback spot to fill that spot first in the draft. But I would definitely take Quinyon Mitchell. You know what I'm saying? If I had a choice, I would take him over Nate Wiggins. You know what I'm saying? So, but it is what it is. I like what he had. I wrote down his stats here because it was notable playing at Toledo. He was highly productive. I had my notes here in front of me. I want to say Walt he had 19 pass defended. That's what I want to get at.
Yeah,
19 pass defended. That's pretty good, man.
ball
Couple pick
skills.
sixes. Yeah, he had some interceptions in there. I mean, really do battles, plays to the whistle. You know what I'm saying? It's not a guy I didn't see him get beat too many times. It was a couple games where he did, took advantage of, I think, Northern Illinois. He had a two pick sixes in one game, if I'm not mistaken, against Northern Illinois. So the guy's got super big playability every time he touches the ball. Um, even though Quandre Diggs plays safety, kind of reminds me of Quandre Diggs' body type a little bit, but he's a corner. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Weight room. You know what I'm saying? You could tell by that. He kind of put together. So I mean, people would really like Quinyon Mitch. He's a Detroit Lion like at heart. Blue collar guy. Like I said, I love the small school, ready to rock, man. That kid, you can put him out there, Wall, and he ready to play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree. I wasn't too sold on him simply because, the biases. He played at Toledo. How good are you really? Can I see you against the top competition? He showed up at the Senior Bowl and he dominated. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we can make excuses for other corners for having a bad showing. We can say, well, they're not really, and I did this myself. We
Yeah,
can say that, well, they're not good because they're not good one-on-one players. Put them within the realm of a defense, they're better, which is 1,000% true for some players, some corners. You may not be a man-to-man corner. You may be a cover two corner. You may be a cover three zone corner, off man. Who knows?
yeah,
But it's up for teams to figure that out about dudes. But this dude right here, he played mainly zone at Toledo. He said he liked playing the zone because he prefers to be able to watch the quarterback and watch the football.
yeah,
I don't think that necessarily means he's uncomfortable being a man or being in any run or any type of bail, press and bail coverages, but he looked like a hell of a player, man. He
mm-hmm.
did. He looked like a first round pick that's leading up to the combine. Now, what happens at the combine and pro
Yeah,
days, we don't
yep,
know, but for the most part, he's a dude that I wouldn't mind taking number one at the corner spot, either him or Terrion Arnold. But like I said, a lot can change over the next couple months, man. And with that being said, we are done with this
yeah.
Senior Bowl recap. Look at this, man. 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 4
2 hours,
seconds.
bro. 2 hours.
Yep.
Yeah, yep. But
So,
yeah, this is just the first show. Like, once we get acclimated, not acclimated, but once we figure out how we're gonna attack this draft, position wise, conference wise. I always like to do that, per conference, who's the top prospects. This is just the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Well, I think this is a year all eyes is on Detroit and what we're gonna do, what I'm saying, in the draft, and to have these guys as prospects, and he's a prospect, he's a real possibility. I mean, right now, if I had to, the last thing for me from this whole weekend, DPJ, JPJ, wait, JPJ, yeah, that's
Jackson Powers. I want you
Jackson.
to just
That,
think about Jackson Powers Johnson.
yeah, that's my new guy right there, man. Him, Quinyon, Malachi Corley, and Javon Baker, man. Those are guys that really stood out to me. It's a lot of defensive guys. It just the Senior Bowl for this defense didn't really scream like, this guy right now. But I'm
Dominant.
telling you,
Yeah.
when the combine starts, the defensive prospects will be through the roof, man, because I think that this is probably deeper draft walking. You agree to that than last year? I think when you put both sides of the ball, do you think this draft is deeper than last year? I mean, I do. I mean, just by looking at all the prospects that we hit,
In
mostly
certain groups.
offense. Yeah.
Yeah. I think in certain groups, yeah. I think this running back class overall is better than last year's. There was more high-end talent, I think, in last year's running back class. This year, you're talking about a guy like Marshawn Lloyd, maybe a USC, or Trey Benson of Florida State, who could probably be high second-round picks once somebody decides to draft that first running back.
Yeah.
The quarterback position, I'm not sure. I think last year, you look at it, and I still have a lot of hope for Bryce Young. Carolina had got a lot of things they need to fix around him. I think Bryce will be fine. CJ proved what he proved.
Yeah.
I think Anthony Richardson, prior to the injury, having to get the shoulder injury, I think Anthony was on his way to being a budding superstar. So there's some in certain groups. Yeah, I think last year's cornerback class was better though.
Yeah,
I
I think
definitely believe that.
Yeah, it's more across defensive line. I'm just thinking a couple guys like what's the guy from Florida State, Jared Verse. I like Jared
Yeah,
Verse a lot. You know what I'm saying? That's the guy I'm putting my
the defensive
hanging.
tackle too, Brandon Fisk.
Yeah, Fisk. I heard. I think Robert Spidell mentioned Chop Robinson. I'm really
Penn
intrigued
State.
by
Yeah.
him. Him. I'm just going off of defensive guys that I like. That Michael Hall. I'm glad you put him in the list because I had him on my list. Not like lower. So yeah, I mean, this only beginning, man. I think this week we're gonna come back Thursday if you want, to make some more.
For sure.
We figure out what we're gonna do, like what
Yeah.
position we got a lot coming up. You know what I'm saying? Draft.
We got a Super Bowl coming up too.
Yeah, Super Bowl. Who cares about the damn Super Bowl, man? I don't care. No, I'm just joking.
Well, now that we winning, we can be sore losers like that.
Yeah. We can be salty
Not give a
like
damn
that.
about y'all Super Bowl.
Right. So,
Like watching that.
all right.
Yeah. But all right, man, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to us on this wonderful Sunday.
Yep.
Senior Bowl is over with. We got that done and out of the way. Combine is when is the combine? In a couple weeks.
Combine is February 29th through March 3rd, I think it is. Yeah.
Yep. So that's the next big event we got coming up is the NFL Combine, followed by pro days and whatnot. Stay with us because we got a lot of content for y'all over the next few months. Past the NFL draft, well into the start of the season. It's all up on the Lions now. One pride.